Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon. We're going to talk about Star Wars toys. Yeah, remember those? Kids used to actually play with them, and according to Hasbro, people are buying Star Wars toys again, or are they? I don't know. There's something going on here. There's something very weird going on here with Star Wars toys because Hasbro is claiming that Star Wars is in an upswing, but if you are a collector of Star Wars toys, and if you've been out to the stores lately, you will notice that there is very little Star Wars on the shelf, and it's not because it's not selling, it's just not available. A lot of Walmart stopped carrying Star Wars, and the Star Wars that is there does not appear to be selling. So I'm not exactly sure what is selling. Well, I have a hunch. So before we get into the video, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're almost at 100,000 subs, guys. Thanks so much for the support. Now, Geeky sent this over this morning. I asked her if she wanted to be in this video. She said she really didn't care, which is weird because she used to actually deal in vintage Star Wars toys. She was like the Star Wars toy dealer at college. Everybody came to her for Star Wars toys, and she was quite the expert on the vintage stuff through Power of the Force 2. So that being said, she's completely checked out of Star Wars toy collecting, does not care. This is interesting, though, because if you remember, just a year or two ago, there was a lot of talk about how Star Wars toys were not selling at all, that actually Hasbro was in trouble because Star Wars toys were not selling, and if you'd gone out to any retail store, Walmart or Dollar Tree or Dollar General or whatever, Five Below, you would find piles and piles and piles of sequel era and Rogue One Star Wars toys for next to nothing. And sometimes they would sit there for years. We were still finding Force Awakens figures in Rose Ticos and Huxes from Last Jedi, just a couple of months ago in clearance aisles. Nobody wants them. So now Hasbro is claiming, because their earnings report is up, they're claiming that Star Wars toys are helping their bottom line again, as are Frozen 2 toys. So let's talk about this, because I have a theory what might actually be going on, possibly, maybe. Because I'm not seeing Star Wars toys sell. Unless this is all just, a shell game for the investors, I have no idea. They did release a bunch of vintage stuff. Is this stuff out yet? I've seen some of the Return of the Jedi. I saw the Jabba's Palace and some other stuff. But again, most stores that we go to do not carry much Star Wars because they can't move it. Coming from CNBC, strong sales of Star Wars and Frozen 2 toys helped boost Hasbro's holiday sales during the fourth quarter, sending shares higher. Excluding items, the company earned $1.24 per share, higher than the estimated 91 cents. Net revenue rose 2.8%, but it missed the estimate of $1.44 billion. Okay, so they didn't hit their goal, really. They didn't hit the target. Now, last year was pretty dismal for Hasbro. They didn't have any real strong sellers. I believe they said that Transformers and My Little Pony were kind of carrying the brand, the games division. So here we go. Strong sales of Star Wars and Frozen 2 toys helped boost Hasbro's holiday sales during the fourth quarter. Share prices went up 4%. Revenue from Hasbro's partner brand unit, which includes sales of toys based on entertainment franchises like Star Wars, rose nearly 50%. To $408 million in the fourth quarter. Interesting. For the full year, partner brands rose 24% to $1.22 billion. The company pointed to strong sales of Frozen 2, Avengers, Spider-Man, and Star Wars lines for the increase. Hasbro currently owns the master toy license for Disney's Marvel and Star Wars franchises and Frozen. Now, the Frozen stuff, I will say yes. Frozen merch is selling. Avengers merch, for the most part, was selling. Spider-Man stuff was selling. Star Wars, this is where it gets interesting. The strength of the sales is proof that Hasbro's partnership with Disney continues to be a lucrative and stabilizing one, particularly in a post-Toys R Us world. Toy makers have had to rely more heavily on Amazon, Walmart, and Target, as well as shelf space in drug and grocery stores. Retailers have seen that licensed brands can easily draw more customers in because children enjoy reenacting scenes from popular movies and TV shows. Hasbro CEO Brian Goldner said the partnership with Disney is very successful and noted that the rise of Skywalker and the Mandalorian The Mandalorian have been big drivers of sales for the company. He said the Mandalorian Black Series figure, which is a high-end collectible with more articulation and detail than a traditional action figure from the Disney Plus show, was one of the top sellers in the fourth quarter. We're incredibly excited that The Mandalorian Season 2 will come to Disney Plus this fall. We're incredibly excited that people are excited about Star Wars again, so we can sell toys again. So I think it is about Baby Yoda, partially too. Let's talk about Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda was available for pre-order. Did that go to their fourth quarter revenue, since you could pre-order Baby Yoda toys? I'm kind of wondering if that's where some of this money is coming from, because again, there wasn't a lot of merchandise for Rise of Skywalker at all. I mean, there were Black Series figures, but there wasn't much at all. Like, they didn't have ships, and they didn't have, I mean, they had a couple of figures that languished on the shelf. They had like this pallet full of Star Wars stuff. Our local Walmart, the Walmart closest to us, they've got a bunch of Dio plushies that are still there, a bunch of Black Series figures of Sequel Trilogy characters that haven't moved in months. So it clearly is not the Rise of Skywalker driving sales. I do believe the Mandalorian, but very few figures. I think they have the Mando and Cara Dune, and that's it. And again, I think the Baby Yoda thing. Baby Yoda might be the reason that, again, just a theory, that Star Wars revenue is up. I do believe that Frozen stuff is selling. Frozen stuff always sells, and even at our local Walmart, there was a ton of Frozen compared to Star Wars. And I think they both came out on the same day or close to it. Now, it's interesting, if you go to the Motley Fool, they don't really talk about Star Wars. They focus on the other Disney toys, Disney Princesses and Frozen. They're not talking about Star Wars at all. They're like, oh yeah, Disney Princesses is the greatest license, the greatest coup that Hasbro's had in the last 3 decades. They did get Disney Princesses from Mattel, and they got the rights to all the Frozen stuff too. They're not even talking about Star Wars at all. So very interesting, but there's a ton of Baby Yoda stuff coming out from a bunch of different manufacturers, and I do have a theory about this. There is Baby Yoda merch coming out from Funko. There's Baby Yoda merch coming out from Mattel, Hasbro's rival. You know, and this is the Hasbro version, but there's a Mattel version coming out too. I have to wonder, since Hasbro was complaining about Star Wars sales last year and the year before, if they weren't sizing up Mattel to be like, well, Mattel will make Star Wars for us, and now Baby Yoda's out, and they're like, hey, we're going to test Mattel out. We're going to let Mattel make a Baby Yoda doll too, and Hasbro's going to make a Baby Yoda doll, and let's see who does better here. It's very weird that Mattel is doing it too. And it's almost like Disney has it feels like they have a backup. You know, it feels like they have a backup. If Hasbro decides that Star Wars is no longer profitable for them, then they will start sending all the Star Wars stuff over to Mattel. But Mattel's not doing so good. Why would they want a sinking ship? You know, but it shows that, like, look, if you produce good Star Wars, you can sell toys. People like The Mandalorian. Those are the toys that are selling. Rise of Skywalker was a flop. Well, it wasn't a flop. Massively underperformed. The toys, nobody cares. Nobody cares about the sequel trilogy. You know, so I think Disney's got the right idea on focusing on Mandalorian. But like we said in the previous video, what I'm afraid of is that they're going to ruin the show by focusing too much on Baby Yoda and relying too much on Baby Yoda toy sales and merchandise, that they're going to completely ruin the show. They're going to introduce a bunch of other stupid, ridiculous characters that only exist to sell toys, and it's going to be a shit show. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe they can turn it around. Again, it's weird to see the action figure aisle have so little Star Wars in it when Star Wars used to make up the bulk of the action figure aisle for years. Ever since Star Wars returned in the mid-90s, there was always a pretty healthy assortment of Star Wars toys, and the sequel trilogy managed to kill off the interest in Star Wars. So maybe it's coming back. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think Star Wars is actually making money for Hasbro now? Or do you think there's something else going on here? Because it seems weird. I'm not seeing a lot of merchandise So I don't see how it could have that much of an effect on their bottom line, but I don't know. Leave a comment and we'll talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.